There is a truth about money that almost no one talks about, and once it clicks, many choices that looked wise before start appearing in a completely different light. You can make smart financial moves and still remain stuck if you make them in the wrong sequence. You might invest before your finances have breathing room and end up selling during a downturn, not because you lack courage, but because you placed anxious money into a game that requires patience. You can put away a small amount every month, yet if an expensive debt is quietly spreading behind you, it is like trying to fill a tank that has a crack underneath. You may own a credit card, use banking apps, have an online account, or even hold a small investment portfolio, but still be living without direction, because owning financial tools is not the same as having a financial strategy. And here is the part many people do not want to hear. A large number of middle-class families are not missing financial advice. They are overwhelmed by advice that has no order. They have heard they should save, invest, eliminate debt, protect their credit, prepare for retirement, buy insurance, understand taxes, and increase their income. Yet almost nobody showed them what deserves attention first, what can wait, and which action taken too early can create a new problem instead of solving one. That is why some people try to invest, while a surprise expense of 450,000 6,200 Mexican pesos, 650,000 Colombian pesos, 350 euro, or a minor vehicle repair immediately pushes them back onto a credit card. Some people talk about financial independence but have no idea how long their lifestyle could survive if their paycheck disappeared tomorrow. Many workers in Mexico wait for payday as if it were a life support machine. In Colombia, rent and monthly payments can swallow a huge part of an income. In Argentina, people struggle with prices that shift faster than their plans. In Spain, many feel that housing costs arrive before any dream they are trying to build. And across the United States, many Hispanic families balance rent, credit scores, money sent to relatives abroad, and a card that feels like a solution until the statement arrives. This video is not another version of Spend Less or Start Investing Young with a different soundtrack. Today, we are going to organize money the way you would organize a home after years of throwing everything into random rooms. First, you stop the things causing damage. Then, you separate what keeps your daily life running. After that, you shield what you cannot afford to lose. Only then do you begin building slowly and deliberately. I'm Mateo, and today we will walk through 7 steps that can help you stop guessing with your money. Not a pretty checklist you write down and ignore the next day, but a priority map that shows what to do when you have nothing saved, what to do when debt is controlling your choices, when investing actually makes sense, when improving yourself is a better investment than buying a financial product, and why many people do not lose because they lack discipline, but because they try to play the final stage while they are still dealing with the first crisis. Step 1. Figure out how many days of financial breathing room your life actually has. The first step is not building a perfect budget or making another declaration that this time your financial life will suddenly become different. The true beginning is much more basic, and for many people, much harder to face. Discovering exactly how much time your current savings can give you before money pressure takes over. If your necessary costs add up to about $4,000 every month, having $120 set aside is not just a tiny amount in an account. It equals a short stretch of days where you can keep going without immediately depending on someone else or using credit. A cushion of $600 can give you several days or weeks to think clearly instead of reacting from fear. Building up to $3,500 creates a much larger gap between you and financial desperation, giving you more freedom to reject the first offer, avoid a rushed loan, or walk away from a harmful agreement. That perspective completely changes what savings mean. An emergency fund is not simply money sitting still. It is time, choices, and stability that you secured before a crisis appeared. In Mexico, if your basic monthly needs are close to 22,000 pesos, setting aside 6,200 Mexican pesos will not make every problem disappear, but it can keep a doctor visit, a broken tire, or an overdue payment from immediately turning into a credit card emergency. In Colombia, if your required expenses are around 2 million pesos, having 650,000 Colombian pesos ready can serve as your first defensive barrier. In Spain, if housing, food, and transportation together cost about €110 per month, saving €350 may not completely change your circumstances, but it can keep a minor setback from becoming a major financial disaster. This is not about comparing your situation with someone else's. Everyone carries different responsibilities. A person sharing a flat in Madrid, a single parent in Lima, an employee in Monterrey, a professional in Santiago, or a Hispanic family in Texas that also helps relatives abroad. The purpose is simply to stop going through life unaware of how much financial stress you can handle. Without knowing your margin, every surprise expense can seem impossible to overcome. Step 2. Divide your money into 3 clear categories instead of creating dozens of exhausting rules. For many people, the idea of a budget brings up images of endless tracking, where every coffee, snack, spontaneous purchase, and small expense becomes another reason to feel guilty. That is why so many people abandon budgeting. The problem is not a lack of discipline. It is often a system that feels like a punishment. Mateo's approach would make the process much simpler. Your income only needs 3 destinations. The first is survival: rent or mortgage, groceries, transportation, utilities, minimum payments, and anything required to keep your everyday life functioning. The second is progress: emergency savings, retirement, investments, reducing high-interest debt, or learning something that can improve your earning potential. The third is freedom: money reserved for enjoying life without needing permission or feeling regret whenever you spend it. If you bring in $2,400 each month, you might start with a simple division such as $1,700 for essentials, $400 for progress, and $450 for freedom. If your situation is extremely limited, the breakdown may initially be closer to $2,100, $180, and $120. It may not seem remarkable at first, but it gives your money a purpose and a path. If you earn 22,000 Mexican pesos, maybe you transfer 1,200 Mexican pesos into progress before the rest of your income disappears throughout the month. If you are living in Chile or Peru and your paycheck quickly gets consumed by rent, transportation, food, and family support, the first objective is not following some flawless formula from the internet. The priority is creating even a small protected category that stays separate from everything else. The important part is that the freedom category stays alive, because trying to manage life like a machine eventually backfires and often leads to reckless spending. But the future category cannot be treated like a luxury either. Even if the amount is tiny, it needs a place in your budget, because it proves your income is not only surviving today, it is also creating a path towards something better. Step 3. Eliminate the debt that drains you the fastest. Before you even think about investing, take a serious look at whether any debt is quietly consuming your money while you sleep. And this is not about every type of debt. A reasonable mortgage is not the same as carrying a credit card balance, using a consumer loan, relying on a fast cash advance, taking a payroll loan, or holding a small balance that keeps growing because of monthly interest. Some debts are like a slow leak in a pipe, frustrating but manageable. Others are like a kitchen fire spreading behind the walls. There is no point in making the room look beautiful if the flames are still burning. The math is straightforward. Imagine owing $1,200 with a real monthly cost close to 3.5%. You could be losing around $42 every month simply to keep the problem from getting bigger. After a year, that can become nearly $520 disappearing without creating anything valuable. If you owe 12,000 pesos under similar conditions, about 460 pesos may leave your pocket each month just to keep the balance alive. If you owe 2.3 million Colombian pesos at a high rate, a painful portion of your income may be working for the lender before it ever helps your household. That is why, when expensive debt exists, your smartest financial move may not be a trading app or whatever investment trend is popular this week. It may simply be stopping unnecessary interest payments. Arrange your debts by cost, not by embarrassment. Cover the required minimums and direct your strongest effort toward the balance charging the most. If a debt demands something like 35% or 45% each year, paying it down can feel like earning a return that very few reliable investments can promise with certainty. It is not glamorous, and nobody celebrates it online, but it can create more freedom than many misunderstood investments. Step 4. Create your emergency reserve in stages, not through unrealistic expectations. Many people hear, "You need several months of expenses saved," and quit before they even begin. It is understandable. If someone is barely making it through the month and you tell them they need to collect $6,800, 135,000 pesos, 7,500 euro, or another huge amount for their situation, you are not giving them a strategy. You are showing them a mountain they cannot imagine climbing. That is why an emergency fund should grow in levels. Level 1 is the first small shield, around 450,000 16,200 Mexican pesos, 650,000 Colombian pesos, 350 euro, or the local equivalent. It will not solve a major disaster, but it can stop a flat tire, medicine purchase, urgent trip, or minor repair from becoming another debt. Level 2 is reaching 1 month of essential expenses. At that point, you are no longer completely exposed to whatever happens next. When something goes wrong, you have a basic layer of protection. Level 3 is building toward 3 to 5 months, depending on your job stability, health situation, children, parents, and the kind of work you do. An emergency fund is not useless cash sitting still. It is money serving as a personal security guard. Its purpose is not to excite you with impressive returns. Its role is to be available when life becomes unpredictable. Keep it away from your everyday spending account, somewhere accessible and sensible, so it does not get mixed with grocery money or disappear because you had a stressful week and wanted to buy something to feel better. An emergency reserve will not make you wealthy, but it can keep every setback from turning into a payment with interest attached. Step 5. Before chasing investment gains, increase your ability to earn more. This is a step that is often placed in the wrong position. Many people who are starting with limited savings immediately ask where they should invest, hoping that a small amount of capital will reveal the one opportunity that transforms everything. But in the beginning, the investment with the greatest potential return is often yourself. Imagine putting $250 into an investment that produces 9% per year. After 12 months, the gain might only be around $22. That is still positive, and there is nothing wrong with it. However, if that same $250 helps you develop a skill that allows you to earn an extra $120 every month, the impact is completely different. This idea works at every stage of life, although the path changes. In your early 20s, it could mean learning advanced spreadsheets, sales, video creation, design, beginner programming, another language, premium customer service, or a digital tool that companies are willing to pay for. In your mid-30s, it may involve becoming a stronger negotiator, earning a certification that raises your market value, or turning your professional experience into services. In your late 40s or 50s, it could mean organizing the knowledge you already have and offering it through consulting, training, or practical solutions for others. Not everyone needs to become an online personality or build a giant company, but almost everyone can find a way to make their knowledge more valuable. Across many Spanish-speaking communities, the challenge is not only learning how to invest wisely, it is also learning how to charge fairly for what you provide. A designer in Bogotá, an accountant in Ciudad de Mexico, a technician in Lima, a teacher in Valencia, a salesperson in Buenos Aires, or a Hispanic worker in Miami may all face different circumstances, but they share one important truth. A useful skill, presented clearly and priced correctly, can create more opportunities than waiting for a small savings account to perform miracles. Step 6. Invest only money that has time on its side. Investing matters, but not every dollar is suitable for that purpose. Some money is anxious money, the rent payment, the school expenses, medical needs, vehicle repairs, or the amount you depend on if your job situation becomes uncertain. That money is not prepared for stocks, digital currencies, or risky bets disguised as opportunities. Money that carries fear usually makes decisions at the worst possible moment. When you invest, you need a long enough timeline. If you contribute $120 each month for 18 years, the contributions alone would equal $25,920. With reasonable growth over time, the final amount could become significantly larger. But the real advantage is not predicting the perfect day to enter the market. The advantage is avoiding a forced exit when everything drops. Someone investing with money they will need next month is not creating lasting wealth. They are balancing on fragile ground while calling it a strategy. That is why the sequence matters. You begin by creating breathing room, then you handle expensive debt, After that, you build your safety reserves in stages, and only then do you move into investing. Once you invest, choose something you can describe clearly, without hesitation. If you cannot explain where the return comes from, what dangers are involved, when losses are possible, how long your money needs to stay invested, and what you would do during a 20% or 30% market decline, then you are not truly investing yet. You are following an attractive story wrapped in numbers. Step 7 is about shielding yourself from the kind of event that can erase a decade of progress. Some problems can be handled with savings, while others can wipe out years of effort. Knowing the difference is where protection becomes important. This does not mean covering every tiny inconvenience or living in constant fear. It means looking at your reality and asking, if this happened tomorrow, could I handle it, or would it break everything I have built? A minor repair costing $250 might come from your emergency fund, but a major accident, a serious illness, a long recovery, losing the ability to work, or the death of a person who provides income for the household are completely different situations. Hope alone cannot solve those problems. If other people rely on you financially, life insurance is not really about you. It is about preventing those close to you from facing grief and financial pressure at the same time. If your healthcare depends on limited public resources or private expenses, learn what protections are available where you live and decide what fits your circumstances. If your vehicle is essential for earning money, losing it without the right coverage could interrupt your income. If you run a business, one poorly protected incident could destroy years of dedication. This does not mean accepting every policy someone tries to sell you. It means identifying which disasters you cannot afford to face alone. People who grow wealth are not fearless because they pretend danger does not exist. They are thoughtful because they choose which risks they will carry and which ones they will pass to someone else. Proper protection is not a negative mindset. It is a way of honoring everything you have already created. Step 8 is learning the rules before you are forced to depend on a bank, an accountant, or public institutions. The final stage is understanding how the system works before it makes choices for you. Owning a credit card does not automatically mean you understand borrowing. Having a banking application does not mean you are managing your money well. Opening a retirement account does not guarantee that you are building enough for the future. Paying a tax professional does not mean you understand your own obligations. Financial products are not the same thing as financial knowledge. This is where 3 areas appear that many people investigate only when it is too late: credit history, taxes, and retirement. Your credit record can determine whether borrowing becomes affordable or extremely expensive. In Mexico, people may know it through Buró de Crédito. In Colombia, through Data Crédito. In Peru, Infocorp. In Chile, DICOM. In Spain, records of unpaid debts such as ASNEF. In the United States, the credit score system. The labels are different, but the principle is similar everywhere. The system tracks your payment behavior and later evaluates you based on that record. Taxes also vary depending on the country, but the broader lesson remains the same. Whether you are an employee, a freelancer, a small business owner, a self-employed professional, or someone running a company, you cannot simply say, "The accountant handles that." A good accountant is valuable, of course, but you still need enough knowledge to avoid losing money because you do not understand the rules or creating trouble through careless decisions. Retirement works the same way. The details change depending on where you live. A 4, AFP, a public pension system, a private plan, or a 401k if you are in the United States. Yet the central question remains universal. When the day comes that you no longer want or no longer can trade your time for a paycheck, where will your income come from? You do not have to master every financial topic. You need enough understanding to avoid signing documents blindly, to ask sharper questions, to know when hiring an expert is worthwhile, and to recognize the difference between a trustworthy advisor and someone simply trying to sell you something. Adult financial education is not about collecting complicated vocabulary. It is about refusing to accept conditions just because you never learned that other choices existed. The right sequence brings your choices back. If there is one message you remember from this video, let it be this: you are not automatically failing because you lack discipline, because you are terrible with money, or because you do not have a wealthy mindset. Many times, The problem is that nobody showed you the proper order. People told you to invest, but they did not explain that you first needed breathing room. They encouraged saving, but never showed you a method that did not make every purchase feel like punishment. They recommended credit, but failed to explain the price of living on borrowed money. They told you to prepare for retirement, but rarely connected that idea to a decision you can make this month. Do not try to complete all 7 steps in a single week. That would only be another rushed approach, even if your intentions are better this time. Look honestly at your current position. If you have no idea how many days your money can support you, begin there. If every dollar is mixed together, separate your finances into 3 categories. If expensive debt is slowly consuming your progress, focus on stopping that leak. If one unexpected problem pushes you toward a credit card, create your first emergency cushion. If your income has stopped growing, invest in your ability to earn more. If you already have room in your budget, begin investing with patience. If one event could erase years of progress, protect what you have built. And if you do not understand the financial rules already influencing your life, start learning them before they become urgent. Money is not organized to impress anyone. It is organized so you have choices, the ability to say no, the patience to wait, the confidence to negotiate without panic, the power to support others without destroying yourself, and the calm to face an emergency with a clear mind instead of desperation. That kind of freedom may not attract attention or applause, but it is one of the most genuine forms of independence. Tell me in the comments which of these 7 steps describes where you are today. Not the place you wish you could claim, but the honest one. A map only helps when you admit the exact point where your journey begins.